Okay, land transfer tax, let's read it and then I'll explain it a bit. You pay this tax to Manitoba Land Titles Office at the time the title of your home is registered. Land transfer tax is paid to the owner of a property when the owner of a property changes. Okay, land transfer tax is paid when the owner of the property changes. The Manitoba government collects this as revenue, and the lawyer hired to do the transaction will ensure that the money gets transferred properly. Home buyers have to be aware of this cost as it is a one-time. I need you to have that highlighted, the one-time, because we're going to talk about one-time versus ongoing later on. Joey, I will have something later on for you to submit, okay? Whoever's online, I'll open a slot later on. The one-time large cost required before the possession of a newly purchased home. First 200,000 of the value of the home is taxed according to a scale. This is where it gets a little tricky, but trust me, if you follow, you should be able to figure it out. And then any amount over 200,000 gets taxed 2% fixed. And this is still very much, this is exactly how you will be charged when you buy a home. So you know how there's a lot of sales these days, like housing is crazy? The government loves it when a property switches names, like from one owner to the other. If you could sell your house every year and buy a new one, they would be thrilled because every time that happens, they make money. They tax that transaction. If you stay in your house for like 30 years, you only pay that land transfer tax once, right? When you buy it the first time, and then you don't pay it anymore until you decide to sell. But it's always the person buying that has to pay that, which is, you'll see, it's a lot of money. It's thousands of dollars sometimes, most of the time, unless the property isn't worth as much. But most houses you'll see pay thousands of dollars in land transfer tax. Nobody tells you this. Like, you want to buy a house, like, oh yeah, I want to buy that house. I have 20 grand down payment, right? It's like, wait a minute, you're gonna have to pay 5,000 for that land transfer tax. And I'm like, what? Like, why did nobody tell me this before? Yes, the bank will often say, yeah, just throw it on the mortgage. They'll tell you that. Just put it on the mortgage and just finance it. But at least I would have liked to have known this beforehand, right? So here's the scale. I will always give you this scale on a test or an AC. Okay, so you don't have to worry about writing it down or memorizing it. But what I want you to do, where it says rate, I want you to write decimal right next to it. So we're going to write the decimal for each one of those percentages so we can just use those moving forward. Okay, so basically what it says is on the first $30,000 of the property value, you pay 0%. Obviously, that's just zero, right? On the next 60,000, so going past 30,000, for the next $60,000, you'll be paying 0.5%, which if you divide that by 100 is 0. Watch this, 0.005. Okay. For the next 60,000, you pay 1%, which is 0.01. On the next 50,000, you pay 1.5%, which is 0.015. Any amount that exceeds 200,000, you pay 2%, which is 0.02. Okay. So basically, this tier accounts for the first $200,000 of the value of a home. Okay. I want to try, because this is such a complicated topic, I'm going to try my best here to show you what's really happening. So let's imagine a house is worth 250 grand. Right? 250 grand. This thing is saying that on the first 30 grand, you pay 0% taxes on. Right? Anything up to 30,000, you would not be paying any taxes on. And then on the next 60,000, this is 60K approximately, I'm just estimating, you would pay 0.5% tax. And then on the next 60,000, you pay 1%. And then on the next 50,000, you would pay 1.5%. Right? And how much is left? Like if the house is worth, let's say the house is worth 220,000 that you're buying. This accounts for 200,000. So this would be 20K, right? Right, and that you pay 2% on. Right? I'll do this. House is worth 220,000. Okay, so you go 30 and 60, that's 90, plus 60,000, that's 150, plus 50,000, that's 200, and you need to account for the $20,000 that you're over yet. So that's kind of what we're going to do. We're going to take the house and then break it down into chunks and tax every chunk accordingly. And if you find a shortcut, you can use it, but be careful with a shortcut. So I'm always going to stick with the same method. Okay? So let's actually calculate the land transfer tax for a house worth $385,000. Okay? So this is how you do it. You take the value of the home and you go through this list, and I will always give you that. The first number is 30,000, so we're going to go minus 30,000, and we're going to multiply that by 0 because you pay 0%. So that'd be $0 that you'd be paying on that on the first 30,000. So you find it kind of irrelevant, but trust me, you need to make sure you take the 30,000 away. If you subtract this, you're left with 355,000. Okay? Then you go back to the chart, and the next number is 60,000. So we have to subtract 60,000. We're going to keep doing this until we can't do it anymore. Okay? How much do you pay on that 60,000? 0.5%, which turns out to be 0.005. So you go like this. Let's figure out how much that would be. 60,000 times 0.005, that's 300 bucks. So we write down the 300 bucks. So far we have to pay 300 bucks. Continue. 355 minus 60, that gets you to 295,000. Okay. What's the next number that I need to subtract? It's 60 again. So it's 30, 60, and 60. So I subtract 60,000 and I multiply it by 1%, which is 0.01. I will save you the details, right? It's just this times 1% is 600 bucks. You can try it using your calculator, but just trust me, it is $600. You subtract that, you get 235,000, and you're like, I still have lots of money left to tax, right? So the next number is 50,000. So you go minus 50,000, and 50,000 gets taxed 1.5%, which is 0.01. 0.15, I should say. I'm going to use my calculator there. That's $750. It's adding up, right? You're paying this. And then you subtract that, and you're left with 185,000. And you will notice this. Once you get to 30, 60, 60, and 50, like once you subtracted these numbers, I have to keep going until I stopped, right? Once you're done that, that's when you're done. You're done subtracting, and you just take and multiply whatever is left, okay, times 0.02. Okay, whatever is left, you subtract it, you times it by 0.02. So there's 185,000 we still need to tax. We will multiply that by 0.02. Look at how much that is. This is exactly how you get taxed. 3,700 bucks. So the more your house is worth, the more the land transfer taxes will be. So it's on the amount that you're over 200,000 where you pay a lot of money. So can you imagine $1 million house, right? How much they're going to pay? It's going to be quite a bit, right? But then again, if you're able to buy $1 million house, you can pay the land transfer tax, right? So now we're going to add it up, right? The sum is just adding everything up. 300 plus 600 plus 750 plus 3,700. $5,350 to be paid at purchase. Okay, so the lawyers involved, they're going to make sure they shave this off to make sure the province gets this. Okay, so this is a provincial thing. This is not a city. This goes to the province. Okay, and the province is in charge of education, hospitals, all of that, right? They take care of that. So I'm sure a lot of this money goes to that. Okay. I will say one more thing. So we got this number, this money amount. We kept subtracting. We went through this list, 30, 60, 60, 50. When you're done there, you go straight to multiplying the rest by 2%. But not all houses are going to be that expensive, right? So let's see what happens. After the second example, I feel like you should know. For example, let's just do one mental math here. If a house is worth $28,000, good luck with that, right? Good luck finding a $28,000 house. How much taxes would you pay if it's $28,000? Because it says here, on the first $30,000 of the value, you pay 0%. You'd pay 0 taxes, right? This is very outdated. I feel like they have to upgrade this, but this is still what they go by, okay? So here we go. Let's do another one. This one is only $135,000. I don't think you can get a house in Winnipeg for that much. Maybe. Yeah, go ahead. So let's try this one. This one is a little trickier. So you take your 135, right? And we go through the steps again. Minus 30,000. Let's do this a little bit faster. We know that that's just $0. Okay, we're not going to multiply that by 0 because it just doesn't, it's not necessary. You're left with 105,000. The next number in our list is what? 60,000, right? That gets taxed 0.5%, which is this. I'm going to cheat a little bit, go up here and see that when I multiply 60,000 by that, I got 300 bucks. I'm just going to go, I would encourage you to do it like on a test, like just calculate it. That way you know. You subtract that and you're left with 45,000. Hold it. Let's highlight these. We went through 2 steps, 2 tiers. What is our next tier? Let's go here. We went to 30, then 60, Can we subtract another 60,000 from 45? We can't. So you stop, you don't subtract anymore, but you take what is left over and multiply it by what the next one would be, which is 1%. Okay? So you go times 0.01, which is, I can already tell you that this is going to be $450. Okay? So altogether, the land transfer tax, okay, would be 300 plus 450, which is only 750 bucks in this case. So we went through the first tier, which is 0%. The second tier was 0.5%. Then this is technically, we're in the third tier. We can subtract, but we multiply it by the percentage associated with that tier, that bracket. Okay, you kind of stop. So I would say you stop in the third tier and then you add it all up. Okay. Let's see how you do. Can you try example 3? Just try on your own, see what you get. If a house would be worth 190,000, try it. Okay? Just give it a try. See how you would do so far. If a house is worth 190,000, what would the land transfer? So 190,000, it's right here, so I'm just going to use it. Minus 30,000, that's 0, right? $0. 160,000. The next category I would have to subtract is 60,000 and multiply that by this. How about I do this later, right? Let's just go through the steps. You're left with 100,000. The next category is 60,000 again. That gets taxed 1%. Then I'm left with 40,000. Can you subtract 50,000 from it? No, you'd be at a minus. So don't subtract, but you take the percentage that is associated with that tier, with the $50,000 tier, and you multiply it like that. So 60,000 times that, we know is 300 already. 60,000 times 1% is 600 bucks. And 40,000, that one, I'm going to use the calculator for that, which is 600 bucks. Just happens to be 600 bucks. Right? So you can basically do, right, this is 900 plus 600. Land transfer tax would be 1,500 bucks in this case. Let's, because you're going to study off of this, I would just say can't subtract by 50,000, right? Because you'd have a negative, so you kind of stop there. You stop your process, but you still use that percentage associated with the 50,000. Whatever number it is that you can subtract, whatever tier you're in, that's what you multiply that remainder by. Okay, so that's 1,500. Okay, so I want you to practice this, because I can guarantee you that on a test you will have probably one property that's worth more than 200,000 and one question where the property is worth less than 200,000, because there's various levels of difficulty associated with that. So let's let me thinking. This is a little bit so example 4 you can do for sure, but then this I want to explain how this works. And room is a bit of a problem here on page 20. I want you to calculate the land transfer tax for each of the following properties. right? If it's $27,999, how much would you pay? If it's worth, 36,450, how much would you pay? And so forth. Okay, I want you to do those. So this whole page, basically, page 20, I want you to do those questions. Okay, let me see here. I think it ends. I have one in the worksheet booklet, but I'm just gonna say homework, page 20, all. Okay, and I will post the answer key later today for that. So we're going to do that till the end of class today, okay? So if you can really get that land transfer tax, and I will post the key right away as you're working, it's going to be on the test, so you might as well just make sure you understand it, and also ACs that are coming your way, okay?